Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Kim here today, and I am going to be showing you something that I don't normally do when it comes to planting in my potatoes. Now, I don't normally grab my potatoes and cut them up and chit them, which is what we're doing here today. So chitting potatoes is when you cut the potato into 2, 3, 4 pieces, provided that there are 2 or 3 eyes on that piece. So then you leave the potato out to dry, so the edges of the potato that have been cut, you let them dry out somewhat before you plant them into the ground, which will help prevent diseases and things getting in it to the potato whilst they start growing. This usually is something that's done to make the potatoes that you have go further, so there is more plants, and you should be getting more yield for your dollar. Now, chitting potatoes does mean you may get more of a yield, but in my case, this was an epic fail, so I will go back to the way that I've always done it, but I thought I'd just put this out there so that you can see that this is one way of doing it. Now, when you chit potato, you are basically cutting it up so that there are so many eyes on each piece of potato once it starts to grow in the cupboard. As you'll see in this video, I am using store-bought potatoes. I've always used store-bought potatoes. And normally they grow really well here. They haven't liked the season that I put them in this year, which was the end of March, early May, and they haven't done really well. But I thought that even though this lot of vegetables didn't grow really well, I thought I would still show you the technique in chitting potatoes. So, but like I just said, I will be going back to the way that I normally do my potatoes. I actually have some here today that I can show you. So once they're growing in the bag, these are the odd bunch potatoes, and these guys have started growing in the bag, and this is really the best way that I have found to do them, is just take these out of the bag like that and put them straight into the ground. Now, you could cut these in half and chit them like I'm doing in this video, but I have found that when I leave them like this, they grow an awful lot better. I can't say that the potatoes are any bigger or any smaller, because that all, to me, all depends on how much water they've had, how much sun they've had, what the ground's like that they grow in. If it's hard, rocky ground, they're not going to grow very big. If they don't get enough water, they're not going to grow very big. It is all really just depends on the environment they're in, you know, if they haven't had enough fertilizer, etc, etc, etc. But after doing the chitting potatoes, because this was the first time I'd ever done chitting potatoes, I knew how to do it and that kind of thing, but I thought I'd give it a go so that I could show you the difference between planting them in. Now, I have several other videos on potatoes. I'll link them at the end and down in the descriptions, so you can go and take a look at those and make a decision for yourself whether you're going to chit potatoes or not. For me, I won't be chitting potatoes. These are just going to go straight out in the garden, in the soil, and I'm going to let them do their thing. The other thing I find is the bigger and the better the little eyes or sprouts on them are, the better the plant grows out in the garden. So these will still get some more time in their bag and before they go out into the garden. I only have 3 potatoes. We've been eating all our potatoes lately, so that's all I have at the moment. But rather than just throwing these into the compost, I'll find somewhere out in the garden to plant these in, and I'll maybe get half a kilo or so to a kilo of potatoes from these 3 potatoes. Who knows, we might even get big ones. So I don't have a variety that I like the best. I use these ones, which are a red potato. I know usually normal standard white potatoes you get from the shop. And then there's another potato which has got the red dots on it. They're not red dots, they're red blotches on the skin, and So it doesn't really matter to me what potatoes they are. They're not organic. It's the Odd Bunch potatoes that I usually purchase because their prices are a lot better, and I'm not particularly worried about what my potatoes look like on the outside, provided that they taste really good. So I do support the Odd Bunch with a lot of my groceries that I do purchase, which is things like potatoes, if I need to buy carrots, any fruit and stuff like that, that I haven't got of my own in the garden or I need to produce. Now, I am not sponsored by them in any way at all, by the way, but they are an awesome way to buy and save a few dollars at the shop as well if you go with them. The food tastes the same, it's just slightly different shape, there's a few blemishes and that kind of stuff. So guys, we're going to get in here and I'm going to show you how to chit some potatoes. If you've got any comments or questions, leave them down the bottom. And guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button and we'll see you soon. There is always that bag of potatoes that you forget about, sitting in the back of the fridge, in the back of the cupboard, you know, put where it shouldn't have been, and you find it and think, yay, we can use it for potatoes for dinner tonight. Open the bag. She's sprouting. Well, technically you can still eat the potatoes. You just have to cut the eyes off if they're still quite firm. But I won't do that. I use my potatoes that have started growing in the cupboard to grow more potatoes. So today we're here chitting potatoes. Now, I don't normally chit potatoes, but I'm going to chit them today and see how it works out. So the way I'm doing it, because I don't have excess egg cartons to sit them into, or cardboard boxes or anything like that around the place, I'm just using some plastic lids off some plastic bins that we use to go camping with, and then just putting some napkins down just to help keep any moisture away from the potatoes. So we're going to just cut these potatoes up so that there is at least one or two eyes per section of potato. So you can see here there is 3 eyes here, so I'm just going to cut them down the middle and make sure that there's 2 eyes on each potato section. So any of the potato pieces that don't have any eyes on them, I'm still going to put them on the paper towel here and just see if they happen to grow some bits of potato. Most likely they won't, but we will give it a go and see what happens. So it's really quite easy to chit the potatoes. The reason we are putting them like this and not putting them straight into the ground, we're let them air here and let the cut side of the potato heal over, a bit like if you've got a scab or a sore on your arm. We're just going to let the air get to it and let it heal over before we put it into the ground. It's just going to help stop bugs and diseases or anything like that getting into the potato when we plant it into the ground. So once we have all our potatoes cut up, as you can see, the potatoes now go further. So realistically, when you put these out in the ground, you are going to get more potato plants growing. The theory is anyway. Now, these are potatoes. I have taken them here into the harvest kitchen. Out in the harvest kitchen, it's quite warm out there because this was done in end of March. And I'm just going to cover them up. This is just going to help keep any flies or anything else, any other creepy crawlies off them. And I'm going to give them 2 or 3 days sitting here like this on the table. And then I'm going to come back and check them out. So, as you can see here, my potatoes haven't done really well. They are not supposed to look like that. The ones that haven't got mold on, that's what they're supposed to look like. But the ones with mold on are not what they're supposed to look like. So as you can see, straight up, first part of my chitting potatoes was pretty much an epic fail. But I'm going to still give them a go, and I'm going to get out there in the garden and plant these potatoes in and see what we get. Step 1, dig trenches. we're going to dig trenches about 4 to 6 inches deep. Mine weren't overly deep because I was working with one hand. This is pre-op. If you didn't notice my hand in the beginning of the video, how it's really swollen and has some little scars happening on it. This is why these trenches are only so deep. And basically, we just want them deep enough so that they're going to cover the potatoes as they grow. I will be putting mulch over top of this, so that's going to add another inch to it anyway. Sorry, I won't be putting mulch over it. My son will be doing that one for me. Step 2, we are going to put the potatoes in those holes. I like to do them quite closely because it just helps with the leaves to shade each plant. It also helps keep the weeds under control. Probably about 4 to 5 inches apart. You can go a bit further if you want. It can make the potatoes a little bit smaller, but I'm happy with the smaller potatoes anyway. Step 3, employ your horse and your son to fill the wheelbarrow, or in this case, the cart, with mulch to cover the potatoes. You gonna help, Elvie?
Start taking it out.
He's contemplating it. I can see it. Step 4, water in well. Make sure that you're checking under the mulch because the mulch can be quite water thirsty itself, so it can be watered really well and not actually get down to the ground. And then over the next week or 2, if there's no rain on its way, make sure that you water the potatoes for every day for about half an hour with the sprinkler for about a week. And then once potatoes start to grow and you can see them coming through the ground, drop that back to once every other day and those potatoes will do really well. So as you can see here, guys, my potatoes haven't done really well. Only a few of the potatoes have come up. Maybe they might be sitting dormant under the ground and maybe they'll come up some other time. If they've rotted, they've just added some nutrients to the ground. I mean, these were store-bought potatoes that were either going to the compost or the chickens anyway. So this way, I might actually get a few potatoes out of this and, well, at least maybe I'll have made up for the potatoes that are lost. So let them grow until the tops die back, and then carefully dig them up and see how they go. If you need to, not all varieties of potatoes need to, you can mound some more dirt up over top of them to help keep the potatoes under the ground. Don't forget, guys, I will link those videos to the other videos where I've harvested potatoes and other things I've done with potatoes in the videos here, or I will put them down in the description for you to check out as well. Alright guys, till next time, happy gardening.